Muut the Three Books. The spring light beamed into the room of the little Muut, Max. Max couldn't get the sleep out of his eyes but finally decided to get up and start his day with his friends. Slowly as Max crept down the stairs and into the kitchen, the sweet flavoring smell of Murty's cooking filled the room. Max was delighted to see the table fully set and all the Muuts ready to start the day. Alex sat to the far end of the corner with wide eyes as he read a book about different plant species. Next to Alex sat Coco, who was very interested in watching the birds chirp outside the window. The twins sat still hoping that Murty would speed up his cooking, and Zach sat at the end of the table with wooden headphones and listening to music that was made for only him to hear. "Good morning, Max, come join us for breakfast," Alex said as he scooted over, making room for Max to sit in. Delightfully, Murty handed each of them special plate of rich, heavenly, delightful omelette made from ingredients in Coco's garden. They ate as they discussed the plans that they had for today. Zach said he was going to have a picnic with Coco and the twins near the old oak tree. Alex, Murty and Max wanted to do something different, so they were planning to go see the berry fields, maybe even bring some berries home to make tarts and cakes. Zach, Coco and the twins had already packed the food and everything else into a small wooden basket ready by the door. Coco went upstairs to fish her butterfly catching net. They then said their goodbyes and left for the day. "I wonder what berries we could find out there," Murty asked. "Maybe we could find raspberries, blueberries, or maybe even blackcurrant." "Oh, there could also be cloudberries," Alex exclaimed in excitement. "I will clean the dishes. Alex, bring your books, and Max, get the boxes," ordered Murty. Alex quickly rushed upstairs to grab some useful books, but as he reached his room he didn't know which books to take. He was deciding between 101 Berries, How to Grow Berries, and Dinosaurs That Eat Berries. He gave up and took them all, then hurried back down the stairs. By the time Alex got down, Max already got the boxes in which he would put the berries in, and Murty looked as ready as ever. He had his pockets stuffed with food and some leftover breakfast. Just as the group of three were about to leave, Max told Alex and Murty he had to bring his hand-drawn map. Max has been working on a map of the whole forest but has only got the trees and some other features so far done. As Max opened the door to his room trying to eye the map, something gripped his attention. A bookmark hanging out between two floorboards under his bed. Slowly Max shuffled towards the bookmark and tried to pull it out, but it wouldn't budge, so instead he thought about moving the floorboard. But as he was about to shift the wooden floorboard, Alex called out, "Max, are you done yet? We have to go soon before Murty eats all the food." Max answered back, "Go on without me, I will catch up." Murty and Alex already started heading towards the berry fields location. As Max lifted the second heavy wooden floorboards, he realized there was a book under the floor next to a bright blue bag. Ever so quietly, Max scooped up the book and hung the bag over his shoulder. The book had an old brown leather case that smelt of Murty's socks. Strange patterns and a question mark were on the front of the book. The bag was old-fashioned backpack with only one strap. But as Max blew the dust off the book, he noticed that it was locked with a cold golden lock resembling a fish with a tiny crown. Max wondered if there was any way to open the book. He attempted to open it with a paper clip, and then tried to pull the lock off, but the lock went around the whole book and didn't budge. Finally Max got so irritated he started shaking the book with anger, until the bookmark slipped out. The bookmark wasn't actually a bookmark, but it was folded paper with odd small water spots scattered around the brown, uneven, musty paper. As Max gently unfolded the paper, it displayed a map of a waterfall leading down into a narrow river. At the bottom right corner of the ancient map was a signature written in black ink. At the bottom of the waterfall was a tiny red cross. Max knew where this place was. He stumbled near it with Zach as they went map drawing together. Quickly Max stuffed the book into the aqua blue bag and started his adventure. Max strolled through the forest as he took in the rare, beautiful view of the light piercing through the pine trees and the water as it rushed following a steady motion. He even watched as the hot beating sun burst with light and energy throughout the forest. Coco placed the red and white checkered bedcloth over the short emerald grass under the shade of the gigantic oak tree. The twins and Zach were helping out by sorting out the food and drinks. Once set, the three sat down and talked as they watched life moved around them. "Murty, do you think Max knows where we are?" Alex asked Murty. Yes, of course," Murty said as he stuffed his face with all random berries he could grab his hands on. As Max walked through the forest watching moss latch under rocks and seeing the darkness of the forest when the trees cover the light and enjoying the sapphire blue sky, he finally made it to the river. Max followed the river all the way to the spectacular waterfall with crystal clear waters. Max pulled out the map and held it in front of his face so that the map overlapped the actual waterfall. A smile arose on Max's face as he watched about 6 or 10 shadows of fish swiftly move up the raging river. These fish-like shadows quickly disappeared behind the huge waterfall. Max shuffled following the curves of the river leading to the waterfall. For a second Max believed there was something behind the waterfall. As a test he shoved his hand into the chilly water and felt no back wall. He gently moved his hand left to right then down to up and didn't feel anything but the icy breeze of the water. Then ever so gently, he lightly hopped through the wall of water. Surprised, Max found himself alone inside a waterfall that had a huge clear pool of water. Max gazed upon a hidden kingdom beneath the water's depth. Max plopped his head inside, and opened his eyes. Shocked to see buildings made of sand, he also saw coral covered with decorative shell stones that only Alex could name. In the center of this marvelous city was a huge palace. Nothing like Max has ever seen before, statues representing salmons, a walkway made of shining jewels and an underwater garden. Max was eager to get down because this was where the map led him. His curiosity brought him to take a peek of inside the water firsthand. So he sunk his head underwater and was shocked to feel the sense of air underwater. He could breathe. "Murty, do you think Max is lost?" Alex asked his hungry partner. "What?" "Yes." "Wait, no," Murty said with a big smile and a handful of berries. A quick movement that made leaves rustle caught Murty's attention. The two mutes watched as the strawberry plants waved not according to the wind. Then out of the juicy patch of strawberries pop out a bigger strawberry? Murty threw his berries onto the floor in shock but quickly tried to recover them by eating them off the floor. The strawberry was like no strawberry Alex or Murty have ever seen. It had eyes, a mouth and a tiara made of fresh green leaves. "Yikes!" yelled the unknown creature. Murty stared at the berry suspiciously. "Alex, do you think this berry can get eaten?" Murty asked, trying to hide a smile. "Eat me? You fool. I am at top royalty around these forests and will not die over such a pathetic way," the berry said, raising a golden staff at Murty. "Sorry, Mrs. Berry, my friend didn't mean it that way," Alex said, trying to make this less awkward. What are you?" Murty baffled out again. "I am Strawberry Queen," the queen answered. At the bottom of the water Max took a while to look up and enjoy the rays of light breaking through the water and reflecting off the houses of the underwater kingdom. A school of fish swept past Max. After the last fish followed the pack to nowhere, Max looked around and found himself in the garden of the palace. A fish-like character appeared with a crown and very blue skin walking on his fins. "What are you doing here, bird?" the king said, almost laughing to himself. "Hey Larry, how'd a bird get down here?" the king said to a nearby fish. The fish had the same blue features only with no crown and no snowy white beard. "How am I supposed to know?" Larry said, glaring at the little mute. Hi Kingfish," was all Max could say before the fish corrected him. "Call me Salmon King," Salmon King said with a huge smile on his face. "Hi Salmon King, do you know anything about a locked book by any chance?" Max asked Salmon King. "Walk with me, Max." Max felt a pang of shock. How does he know my name, was all Max could say in his head over and over and over again, as Max and Salmon King discussed and sat down on a bench next to the garden. Salmon King told Max about a real story with 3 hidden creatures with red and blue hoods covering themselves when they captured Salmon King in fishing nets, and gave him a map to a key. The hoodies told Salmon King that the map leads to a key. The key then unlocks a special book. Salmon King couldn't go on land, so he gave it to his friend, Pink Clam, or how she likes to call herself, Lady Pink Clam. She then gave it to her small pink Girl Scouts, who retrieved it and got the key and brought it back to Salmon King himself. But since the key is so special because it opens a magical book and it's made of opal, Pink Clam would only give it to Salmon King if he gave her back her milky white pearl. The story behind the pearl, as Salmon King explained, was that her old friend, his name was Jake. Jake the fish found the pearl one day in front of a waterfall, thinking it was a royal gift. He then presented it to Salmon King. The pearl slipped out of Pink Clam's tiny jaw and fell into the river, which then traveled all the way to Salmon King's kingdom. Max understood how Salmon King must have felt, so he accepted to do each challenge. "Once the third challenge is over, I will give you the key," Salmon King said with a smile. Salmon King stood up and asked Max if he wanted to walk with him. Max nodded. "Max, me and my people have been put on a curse," Salmon King explained. "What curse?" Max said in shock. "Well, there's a thing that I would like," Salmon King tried to explain. "What is it?" Max said, "A stone." Salmon King baffled. "This stone is right outside the kingdom, but no one can reach it because it's too far on land," the king continued. "And you want me to get the stone right?" Max suggested. "Well, yes, our people have tried for 2 years leaping out and in the water attempting to reach the stone. We even tried to build a machine which you can see didn't work. Reaching this stone is pretty much impossible." Max jerked his head to the left to see a fish getting strapped to the machine made of rocks, a couple sticks and a piece of rope, basically a catapult. The machine flung the poor fish onto land. Max and Salmon King watched as he slowly flopped back into the water. "You so close," Salmon King said, slamming his fin onto the bench's arm. Max watched as the crowd of fish congratulated the poor fellow. "That's the closest we have ever gotten, my lord." Larry smiled. Max walked up the rim of the pool, and took a while to breathe in the fresh air after being in the diving suit for a while. He found the stone just a step away from the water and kicked it back into the kingdom's water. As Max crept back down into the water, the fish congratulated him. Salmon King held onto the stone and was obviously wouldn't be letting it go. Once Salmon King got control of the kingdom, he demanded a royal feast. "Let's celebrate with a party," Salmon King exclaimed. For the whole hour the whole kingdom celebrated because an owl kicked a stone into the water. Once the party started to die down, Salmon King assigned Max a new task. "Well done, Max, for your second task I want you to find another stone," laughed Salmon King. "This stone is different. It's invisible." Max stopped and asked, "How am I supposed to find an invisible stone?" No, it's not invisible, it's just really hard to see." "Not invisible," the salmon said. "I dropped it while shaving." Which room did you shave in on that day?" Max asked, trying to get a clear answer. "I don't know, I have 48 different rooms in my home." Max walked through the entrance of the mansion. His hands hovered over the floor attempting to locate the missing stone. After going through all 48 rooms and haven't felt the presence of any stone. He retraced his steps, checking cupboards and closets, but still nothing was found. Max was going to try one more time if any of the rooms held the stone. After going through about 11 bathrooms and 5 kitchens, he entered the bedroom of the king. Max looked at a shelf and realized why Salmon King had an obsession towards stones. He had a whole long rack of all types of stones, from amethyst to what Max thinks is an opal. But between 2 stones was an empty slot. Max knew this was where he had to put the stone after retrieving it. Out of curiosity, he had to know the stone's size, so he was planning to measure about how long it was, but as he was about to measure the empty area, his hands collided against an invisible crystal. Max found Salmon King next to a water fountain that wasn't working because they were underwater. "Salmon King, I got your stone," Max said, trying to hide his frustration. "You have the eyes of a hawk, the scent of a hound and the brain of a dolphin. I spent 3 months hiring salmon to search the place, but in about 2 hours you found it." Salmon King congratulated Larry. "I think we have another party on our fins." Salmon King laughed. "I have to get the last trial over and done with so I can get home and back with my friends," Max interrupted. Max handed the crystal to Salmon King and they started walking together, discussing the next trial. After the long walk, Salmon King handed the stone to a servant who would bring it back to the collection. Salmon King, you didn't hand me a stone," the servant said, trying not to offend the king. "Not again." Salmon King cursed. "Must have dropped it while walking," the king continued. Max stared at the king with blank white eyes. "Don't make me do this again," begged Max. "Oh no, we don't have time. I need you to get the staff I told you about," the salmon reassured Max. The mission Max had to get done was to get a staff with an opal in the shape of a star at the tip of it, only problem was he had to get it off Strawberry Queen. Salmon King couldn't do it because his fins won't carry him that far onto land. The directions were very simple in which Max had to follow. After leaving the waters and locating the berry field where he, Alex and Murty were supposed to meet up, he found himself staring upon a field of ripe juicy berries. "I'm surprised Murty hasn't eaten all of these," Max whispered to himself, "a patch of empty berry bushes with half-eaten leaves and absolutely no berries." "Murty," Max giggled to himself, as Max shoved 2 raspberry plants aside. The sweet smell of soft burning fire in a fireplace is what Max smelt. "Max. Max. Max," Alex said, running towards Max with a smile that spread across his face. "Where have you been?" Alex worried. "I was still hungry and got some food," Max said lamely. "We met a talking strawberry," Alex exclaimed. "Follow me," and Alex led the way towards a small wooden cabin with plenty of plants to make it look like a castle's garden. Murty was outside picking raspberries from the wonderful garden and ever so sneakily often would put one in his mouth. "Oh, hi Max," Murty welcomed. Out of the cabin stood a strawberry with a tiara made of fresh lime green leaves with blueberries and raspberries and a huge strawberry that Max could bet Murty would love to eat. "Murty, I need you to hi there, what's your name?" Strawberry Queen asked Max. Max, and I bet your name is Strawberry Queen," Max said as the strawberry nodded in excitement. Strawberry Queen delightfully invited her guest inside the cabin. Inside the cabin, looked a lot bigger than it did outside. Murty quickly rushed into the kitchen with a box filled with berries ready to make raspberry tarts. "Strawberry Queen, I was sent here by Salmon King," Max told the Queen. "What did he send you here for?" Strawberry Queen asked Max. "I was sent here to pick up a staff." "Oh, the staff, yes, I promised him a staff about last month. Silly me, I forgot he couldn't go on land," Strawberry Queen said. Max followed Strawberry Queen down a long stairway and into a secret room, while Murty and Alex were still upstairs making the treat. Strawberry Queen opened a steel door with an image of a strawberry on the front. Candles lit the dark room while Max gazed upon the many rows of staffs that filled the room. Each staff seemed to have a different aspect on them. Some were glittering, others were translucent, and maybe 3 or 4 Strawberry Queen claimed held magic. The one that Salmon King wanted was at the very corner with a wonderful glistening patch of rainbow colors on the tip in the shape of a star. Strawberry Queen handed it to Max with very delicate fingers. Max held it close to his chest, making sure it wouldn't slip. He thanked her, told Murty and Alex to meet up back at home because Zach, Coco, and the twins would be there. Max retraced his steps all the way to the waterfall and quickly hopped into the water once again, but only with the staff which he held tightly onto. Salmon King was obviously waiting because from the time Max left he was still in the same spot. Max handed the staff to Salmon King. He, in exchange, gave Max the key and a rolled-up map. "I hope I will be seeing you soon, Max. The whole kingdom will remember what you have done for us," honored Salmon King. Max said goodbye and that they will meet again and left back to the surface above the water. Max plopped the key into his bag along with the map, wanting to open the book in front of his friends. After the long walk back to the beloved tree, Max saw Coco, Zach, the twins, Alex and Murty all on the dining table waiting for him to return. Murty set the table with the raspberry tarts in front of him. As Max took a seat, everyone started eating and commenting about the food. Zach told everyone that he enjoyed the picnic with Coco and the twins. Alex told everyone about berry picking and really wanted to meet up with Strawberry Queen again to prove to Zach, Coco and the twins that she was real. Murty exclaimed that he had the best time of his life learning to make tarts. And now everyone stared at Max hoping to hear his story. Max lifted the book out of his bag and onto the table. Everyone looked confused. Max explained how he found this book inside the floorboard, at home in his room with a bookmark sticking out catching his attention. Everyone stayed quiet. He explained his journey to the waterfall as he followed the map and described Salmon King and his obsession towards stones. He also described about the 3 trials. Max unrolled the map and everyone was delightful to see every aspect of the forest. At the top middle was a title that read, Muut Village. Everybody started calling the forest Muthen Village, and then they focused on small areas on the map, like the bottomless pit, the abandoned train station. Once everyone got a good look at the map, Max put the opal key onto the table for everyone to look at. Opal! Alex screamed in joy. Max opened the book. The key fit perfectly into the golden lock. The book's first pages of the book revealed a glossary with the title Muut language. The twins got so excited and started speaking the proper language. The next few pages were all in the Muut language with couple diagrams. The twins continued reading the pages out loud. Nearing to the end were empty pages. But the last page showed a hand-drawn picture of another book. The twins quickly read it and fell silent, knowing there was another book to find by William Home and Patrick Home.